Hey guys, Grassman here, playing more Minor Gun Builder. Or am I? If the universe is run inside of some sort of hologram or machine, then I'm not really here. I'm just behind some invisible screen talking to you. My face doesn't exist, nor does my body. You're simply hearing my voice on top of a screen. Maybe you're the only one out there. Maybe the entire universe is a simulation. Or not. In 1969, the Boeing 747 made its debut. Since then, we still use Boeing 747s as our best plane. Does this mean there's some sort of technological limitation? In a universe run by a simulation, that wouldn't make sense. You could just give each particle more and more space and more code to go even smaller, to be able to create even more advanced machines. But we don't. As far as we know, space only goes down to quarks. Quarks are what make up everything, along with electrons and protons. Photons. Does that mean that we don't live in a simulated reality? Well, not so fast. You see, in a simulated reality, you could never truly know you're in a simulated reality, unless you woke up, in which case you could never know if you were in a simulated reality. At some point, it just becomes too realistic, and our brains don't know what's not realistic. For example, does anyone remember the killings that happened of the major producers after the movie The Matrix? No, you don't. Why? Because they don't exist. Or maybe they do exist. Maybe they were just erased, because those in control of the universe were angry that we possibly gave each other ideas about being in a simulated universe. Otherwise, maybe they just never existed. How do we know they ever did exist? Maybe they were written out of the code, taken out of the databanks. Maybe they were never there all along. But that begs the question, then why is the Matrix allowed to stay? If we are in a simulated universe, why were we ever exposed to the Matrix? You could easily write it out of existence as well as out of all of our memories, and we would never know. Which suggests that we're not in the Matrix, or some sort of simulated universe. At the same time, you could keep it around, or purposely create something like the Matrix simply by having some of the characters, who may not even be real parts of your simulation, to create it, and then not delete it, or have any sort of suspicious anything, to make humans think that they're not in a simulated universe. Understand? Fuck, I don't know where to go from here. I came into this, half prepared to, talk for a couple of minutes, do a kind of, Vsauce thing. Or maybe we're not. And then I just had nowhere to go from there. for the second half of that speech, I was just, making stuff up at that point. It does bring up genuine, questions, though. Would you leave that there? Would you leave the Matrix here intentionally to throw humans in your simulation off from thinking, is it a simulated universe? Well, of course not. We have the Matrix. Why would they let us have that? So maybe it's a tool to throw us off. Maybe it's evidence that there is no simulation. It's all hard to know. We do know that there's the smallest thing in the universe, the Planck length. We don't know if the quark is the last level, if quarks are made of something, if string theory is true or something. As far as I'm aware, string theory hasn't been proved yet. But we know that the Planck length is the smallest possible space in the universe. It's like the render distance. No. It's like the... What's it called? Frame rate? No. It's like the... What do you call it? The pixels? No. 5. It's like the thing, you know? Everyone knows the thing, right? It's like the thing. It's the smallest possible distance, and you can't go smaller than it, seemingly. And does that mean that there is a technological cap? Because there's only so many Planck lengths, is there a point at which, even if we could use each Planck length individually for something, for some small on or off or something, and then we could build up from there, could we still only have so smart of a computer? Even if we built a Dyson computer around a star, like the moon in Moonfall, and it was just one giant computer, all of using Planck lengths, and it went the entire distance of the solar system, could it still only be so powerful? Of course, out of the solar system, you have, like, light speed to take into consideration. How fast can you travel? There have been propositions for how you could possibly travel faster than light speed, and it's not by moving an object through space faster than light, but it's by moving space around the object through space. Because there's no rule against moving space through space. You create a separate space, and then you put the object in the space, and then you move the space through the space. And then the object in the space moves through the space without moving through the space, if that makes any sense. I'm sure it does. It's completely logical, you know? Object through space, but not through space. Simple. I don't see how anyone could not understand it. But at the same time, do any of these rules make sense? Like, why is light travel at... Why is there a max speed? Why does light travel at that speed? Why? Why does the universe exist, you know? Have you ever, like, woken up and realized, why am I here? Not like, what is my purpose in the world, but why am I here? Why is the universe here? Like, you look around, you're so caught up in society and everyday norms of life, you don't consider why the universe is actually here. What's going on? What happened? Because the Big Bang happened, and then the universe happened, and then a bunch of logical consistencies that possibly only work in our universe happened. Like, because if you're thinking like binary, you know, 1 + 1 = 2, or 1 + 1 = 10, what if it's not like that in another universe? If in another universe, what if I can combine 2 oranges and they turn into 3 bananas? How do you know? Is it only our universe that 1 + 1 = 2, and not 3n? Or 3 banana? Or is that a consistency across all possible universes? Because as far as we know, we've only ever experienced our own universe. We could only know if that's a thing in our universe. But is that something that has to happen? Will 1 + 1 always be 2 no matter what? Or could the Planck length... Because you might think, how could it be anything else? But you could think in a universe that's maybe less stable, where you're not just combining 2 oranges, where trying to combine 2 things has them interact in a weird way that creates a third or a fourth or infinite. And then adding anything actually just always ends up to infinity. Because all you would need to do is change the Planck lengths or the minor particles, change things in some little way. Why do quarks like to marry each other in threes to form protons and neutrons? Why do those want to form atoms? Why can atoms only get so heavy? As far as we know, there is no 119th element. Why is that? Why is there 118? Why 118? Does that have some sort of special something? I'd think 128 maybe, because it's a power of 2. But at the same time, powers of 2 are only possibly important in this universe. We don't know if in another one they are important. Maybe this simulation is already very strange compared to whatever beings are running it. Could be running it. Maybe they've built this in a line with what's normal for them. Or maybe they wanted to mess the parameters of the universe and just found something that worked accidentally. Maybe we already are living in a giant Dyson computer around a star. Maybe that's how all of humanity is simulated. Or maybe you're the only one simulated. Maybe I'm here telling you this simply for the purpose of making you think that you're not in one of these universes, because why would it let you talk about this? Why would it make one of these videos? Maybe it's only simulating you and what's around you. Maybe everything behind your head is de-rendered, and your parents are just kept track of in variables. Only what's important is there. They put you through different challenges to see how you'll respond. See, are you a viable species worth 3D printing into reality? Or just to see what the fun of it is. Or maybe with entertainment, you know? Maybe we're in some child's entertainment device, and this child is fascinated with hell on Earth. Last Thursdayism. Vsauce has talked about it. Maybe the whole universe just popped into existence, well, let's say 2022. Or, no, 2020. And now, after the universe popped into existence 2020, some kid's been making hell out of it. You know, the Donald Trump was maybe just a pre-done setting. Bad president of the United States. No offense. If you're a Trump supporter, then good president of the United States. Pre-president of the United States. There you go. Will that make the political people happy? whatever your affiliation is, maybe it was just a setting that some child turned on to either weaken or strengthen or change the US in some way. Maybe it's similar in the other countries. Maybe spite was poured onto Russia, forcing them to go to war with Ukraine. Maybe free will's not a thing. If we all live in a simulated reality, maybe we don't actually have free will. Maybe everything we do is already pre-calculated. Or maybe the computer is able to create its own particles that can truly choose randomly. Or maybe those particles aren't truly choosing randomly, but are just choosing so complexly that we can't see whether it's random or not. Maybe nothing truly is random. Maybe that's why we see so many patterns in life. Or maybe it can just simulate random particles, and that's how we get randomness and possible free will in a simulated reality. On the other hand, maybe reality is not simulated. If we consider what the implications of reality not being simulated are, then we have to consider, well, we kind of have to consider either way, what is the end state? If we go further out than the universe is, about 7.1 billion light years or so, in pretty much any direction, in at least one direction should get us there. If we go 8 billion, 8 billion's overshot. If we go 8 billion light years in any direction, then that should be the size of the universe, assuming the universe expands at light speed and a constant rate, as far as we know, although it may be expanding faster than that. If so, we have to go even further. But regardless, if we go to the edge of the universe and then just a little bit over, what is there? If there's no universe, then there's no nothing. There's no nothing to be the nothing. It's not empty space. There's just nothing. It's not empty space. It's not somewhere things can exist. What if something tried to exist there? Is that why light speed is a cap? Could we never go over light speed because the universe can only exist within that, and everything outside just doesn't exist? Does light speed exist Does light speed exist because it's the fastest anything could possibly happen, and the universe is no bigger than that? Will the expansion of the universe slow down as time goes on? Will it slow down as the universe gets bigger, it's growing at a decelerating rate? Or if it's growing at a constant rate, but relative, it's slower? Because it grows by 5%, then 2%, then 1% as time goes on, as it's gotten bigger. So will the expansion of the universe happen at a decelerating rate? Or will it happen at a constant rate? If it happens at a constant rate, could we theoretically get anywhere? If it happens at a constant rate across the entire universe, there is a limit. If it happens at a constant rate between objects, maybe not, because then we could use objects as islands and possibly hop across everything. Of course, in a simulated reality, maybe none of those things even exist. Maybe they're all already just specs, and as we invent new tools, they have to update the program to allow us to be able to even detect that, and for those other planets and stars to be registered as things. Has anyone considered in the reality that we're not in a simulation, those planets actually have to exist? That everything we're doing here, all the complexities of day-to-day life, you could fly out across the universe, across the known universe, across the observable universe, and you could just see another planet and just see how barren and empty it is, a gas giant or not a gas giant. No life, no nothing, just a barren rock. Maybe some water. Even if it did have life. Imagine, has anyone considered that? That during everything that's happening now, all those planets, you could imagine just a camera being there. Imagine you being teleported onto that planet. That entire planet is constantly happening while you are also. How does the universe run itself? Does the universe have a memory storage system? No information can be created or destroyed. But does the universe destroy its history? Is there a way we can know for sure what happened in the past? If we can't know for sure the future, how can we know for sure the past? And doesn't that ruin that no information is destroyed? Because the entire information of the previous universe is destroyed. But how is it possible all that information can be stored? Does that mean that a particle has to follow a specific path so that it can always be rewound to find the stored information? And does that mean the future isn't random? That there is ways of detecting the future? And if we could find the way of detecting the past, we could inverse that to detect the future. Or it's all in a simulation, and the only reason it's not destroyed is because a separate entity is keeping track of it all. Maybe the particles all themselves do lose information, but the universe doesn't, because something else as part of the universe is keeping track. just attach a data storage vault in, and, I don't know, maybe have it play a role as a black hole, per se. And then that black hole is your data storage device. Infinitely dense, and can store all the information of all the universe. Maybe it's not infinitely dense, maybe it's only so dense. It can store the information of the entire universe, and everything that's ever happened, in that very dense area of space. And that's why it's gotta be so dense. It's so dense we think it's infinitely dense, because each one is storing a large part, or an individual copy, of some point in the universe. And if every Planck time has to be stored, for every particle covering every Planck length, then imagine how many black holes there must be, or how much information you would need to put into each one. Maybe each one is a separate copy, just in case one ever corrupts, to make it virtually impossible to lose everything. Maybe you need an infinite universe, and an infinite amount of black holes, just to store it. Maybe black holes appear at a growing rate as well, as the universe grows, so that there are always more, that can always store more information. That way you can never risk all of them corrupting it simultaneously, and information can never truly be lost. Because for an infinite amount to simultaneously disappear would take an infinite amount of time. Which means that never at any one point will information actually be lost. And that's what a black hole does. And each one has to carry each Planck time of each Planck position. And it's not infinitely dense, it's only so dense. If it were infinitely dense, if a black hole were infinitely dense and had infinitely much mass, wouldn't it cause infinite gravity? And then that would pull everything towards it. But it doesn't, it only causes so much. It has enough to hold the universe together with the help of dark matter, but it doesn't just pull everything in with infinite gravity. Otherwise, we would infinitely speed up and slam into it at an infinite rate, faster than the infinite speed of infinite light speed. Infinite. Which means it must have a finite amount of mass. And we know black holes do have a finite amount of mass, even though they're infinitely dense. Shouldn't that be impossible? For a black hole to be infinitely dense but have a finite amount of mass, it would have to be infinitely small, which we know it also is. I don't know where I'm going here. But think about it. Think about it. What if the black holes are just the storage devices of the universe? And that's where the information goes. Whether it's consumed by the black hole accidentally or not. Or purposefully. Or maybe each particle individually, similar to how the surface of a black hole could keep all the information. Maybe the surface of each individual particle tells its story of where it traveled. Maybe the Planck lengths are where particles store their information. And each particle uses the Planck length inside of it to store its information. And that's why the Planck length exists. Maybe the Planck length is where you store your information. And then in the non-simulated universe, you could have each individual Planck length or particle storing its own information. And that would be much more realistic than needing to have a black hole contain it all. And then when a black hole consumes it, that's like the save. That's all the information now going into the storage device of the universe, the proper storage device. All of this is theoretical, of course. All of this is well-known canonical lore on the Grassman channel. And remember, as always, we exist and we simultaneously do not exist in both a simulated and non-simulated reality. Schrödinger is God, and Zote is second God. The universe is a myth. Buy gold. Trust no one. If Ra from the pyramids comes to talk to you, don't trust him. And as always, I hope you enjoyed. I'm not here. And I'll see you next time. Waiting for the level to finish. Bye, guys.